Good. We got all the money we need. Hey guys, welcome back to another Regal Mystery Movie Review. Today's movie played on October 6, 2025. And the movie was The Roofman. Based on an unbelievable true story, Roofman follows Jeffrey Manchester, a struggling Army veteran and father who turns to robbing McDonald's restaurants to get by. After escaping prison, he secretly lives inside a Toys R Us for 6 months. But when he falls for Lee, a divorced mom drawn into his undeniable charm, his double life begins to unravel, setting off a compelling and suspenseful game of cat and mouse as his past closes in.
Rated R.
If you are new here, let me start by saying I am not a fan of Channing Tatum. He always reminds me of a guy that never matured past high school. Now, I did try to go into this movie with an open mind, like I did with his previous mystery movie, Fly Me to the Moon, or at least as open as I could possibly be. And this movie does very little to change my impressions of him. Channing Tatum plays Jeffrey Manchester, the Roofman. He is described as a highly observant person, somebody who memorizes details and routines. He is great at picking up patterns, but he can't turn those skills into a meaningful career, so he resorts to robbing fast food restaurants. Channing plays Jeff just like how he plays every other character. He's overly charming and full of himself. He lacks a sense of maturity. It was a drag to watch him struggle to bring anything authentic to the role. Kirsten Dunst plays Lee Wainscott, a Toys R Us employee and the love interest of Jeff. Lee is a single mom with 2 teenage daughters. She's also highly involved in her church. Kirsten does a good job with the role. She feels like an authentic person. She also brings the needed emotion to her scenes with Channing when he can't. Though I was hoping for a bit more from her part. She kind of felt like she was on allergy medicine the entire time. Peter Dinklage plays Mitch, the mean Toys R Us manager. He captures that rude and often incompetent manager role very well. Reminded me of a couple people that I've worked with in the past. And then you have Lakeith Stanfield, who plays Steve, Jeff's army buddy and fellow criminal. He was both funny and informative. The film opens on a McDonald's, where Roofman Jeff is up on the roof smashing out a hole. He surprises the morning crew and takes them hostage. He locks them in the walk-in fridge and takes the money. Now this is where the movie tries to tell us that Jeff isn't that bad of a guy. Which is weird because Jeff is also narrating these scenes, telling us explicitly that he's not a good guy. He says please and thank you while he's committing felonies, and that's supposed to endear him to the viewer. I just wasn't buying it. He gets arrested and sentenced to decades in prison. His ex-wife moves on and forbids their 3 children from ever speaking to him again. He escapes and travels to a different town. This is when he breaks into the Toys R Us and lives there for the rest of the movie. He meets Lee, falls for her kids, and then completely forgets about his own children. Eventually, the police get back on his trail and he has to decide, should he stay or should he go? Now, Roofman is based on a true story. I don't know much about it other than the real Roofman is currently sitting in prison. But the whole story seems so far-fetched. And that's compounded by the incompetence of most of the characters. For example, store manager Mitch notices thousands of dollars of merchandise missing, but he never calls the police? He never checks the security cam footage? Jeff did find a way to turn off the cameras at night so he could walk around the store freely, but that would leave huge gaps in the data recordings. And that was something that Mitch should have noticed, and it's annoying that he didn't figure it out sooner. But that's par for the course, because just about every character in the film is unlikable. And that made the film unlikable for me. Jeff is a felon, but people like him because he's polite. He lies, cheats, and steals, and does hundreds of thousands, if not over $1 million worth of property damage. It's actually crazy that we're supposed to like him, that we're supposed to feel sorry for him. He tries to buy people's affection, even though he's told explicitly not to. Lee also rubbed me the wrong way. She is shown trying to force her boss to come to her church. While Mitch does say no in a very rude way, it's still no. But she keeps pushing him. She even says that he's not a good person unless he goes to church. And this is her boss. I know I would never let an employee talk to me like that. And it's not just her, it's most of the churchgoers that we meet. One woman is a sex-crazed cougar who is all over Jeff the second that she meets him outside the church. She's literally on the church sidewalk talking about his big, bulging sack of toys. The rest of them, including the pastor and his wife, are gossip hounds, constantly talking about people behind their backs. It was really obnoxious. The movie was shot on 35mm film to give it that kind of 90s, early 2000 vibes, and it really worked. It gave the visuals a bit of grit. Unfortunately, there's really not much else to say about the filmmaking. The cinematography was pretty standard. The whole thing just kind of felt like a quickly made streaming movie. I was hoping that there would be some decent music from the time frame, but there wasn't. There were Christmas songs and religious hymns. Now, the biggest thing that people will probably disagree with me on is the humor. Now, I actually did laugh at times throughout this movie, but not as much as other people. And honestly, I didn't hear as much laughing in the audience as I was expecting. Channing does his usual frat boy inspired humor, and that's weird for a 45-year-old man. Most of my laughs came from the supporting cast. Lakeith had some of the funniest lines in the movie. There's also some slapstick nudity thrown in, which the children sitting next to me who are all under the age of 10 really enjoyed. If you're a usual fan of Channing Tatum, you're probably going to be rolling in the aisles. I just couldn't get into most of it. There's also some more serious emotional scenes. Well, some scenes that are supposed to be more serious. Now, just like in Fly Me to the Moon, Channing relies on a scene partner to do most of the heavy lifting. And Kirsten does a good job, though even with her in those scenes, it felt like she was already over it. I will, however, give props to Channing for about 2 or 3 of these emotional scenes. He really conveyed his character's sadness very well. But there's a dozen more scenes where he didn't. I do want to mention the credits because I found them entertaining. They showed comparisons of the photos in the movie with the real photos that the actual Roofman had. It also had interviews from the people who were robbed by him and the real Lee Wainscott. I like when movies do that. It reminds you that it's a true story with real people and real consequences. Overall, Roofman wasn't a boring film. It did keep my attention for over 2 hours. But it was uninteresting, and the unlikable characters kept me uninterested. I was hoping for more character growth that just never came. And it's for these reasons that I'm giving the Regal mystery movie Roofman the law-breaking score of 3 out of 10. Look, I tried giving it a chance. I really did, but it's just a bad movie. Sophomoric humor, bad characters, and a weird focus on religion just tanked the whole thing. I do realize that some people are not going to agree with that score, so go ahead and leave your rebuttal in the secret hideout comment section down below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to help keep me out of the grasp of the law. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.